If you're hooked on Carter Vayne's descent into the depths of sleepless madness, don't stop here. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chilling episode of the Insomniac. Your support keeps the story alive. Join us as we unravel the mind of a killer who never sleeps. Episode 2: The Hunger of Wakefulness. The human body was never meant to endure this long without sleep. Carter Vayne was beyond exhaustion. He was something else now, something reshaped by the kind of insomnia created by the forces designed to morph monsters out of men. His neurons fired without pause, his thalamus long abandoned its post as the guardian of slumber, and the world around him had begun to shift. Objects pulsed, their edges blurring in and out of focus. Sounds arrived out of sync with movement. His perception was unraveling, slipping like silk between his fingers. And yet, beneath it all, there was a hideous form of design. The latest research in sleep deprivation had revealed that extended wakefulness did more than deteriorate cognitive function, it altered moral reasoning itself. The prefrontal cortex, deprived of rest, struggled to regulate impulses, leading to decisions devoid of emotional context. Carter had read these studies, absorbed them, dissected them. He was living proof. Sleep was the great equalizer, the great pacifier, the biological reset button that kept mankind tethered to civilization, preventing the descent into chaos. Without it, he was evolving beyond restraint. A test was necessary. Evelyn Mercer sat across from him, legs crossed, pen poised above her notepad. She was always so composed, her voice a measured cadence of reason, grounding reality for those who struggled to grasp it. Carter wondered if she realized how precarious that role was. A flicker of something primal coursed through his blood, an urge to shatter that illusion, to see what lay beneath. "You're dissociating," she said, her voice unwavering. He smiled faintly. "Am I?" "Yes. There's a delay in your responses, a rigidity in your facial muscles. Classic signs of extreme sleep deprivation." Carter leaned forward. "And yet, I am more aware than ever." She didn't flinch. Awareness and stability are not the same thing. He studied her, the gentle rise and fall of her breath, the pulse at her throat, a steady, rhythmic beat against the chaos in his mind. He could end her in seconds. The thought did not disturb him. What disturbed him was that he hadn't done it yet. That night, he chose a different prey. A man, late 40s, nondescript, walking alone near the waterfront. Carter had selected him carefully, not for any particular reason, but because selection itself was the ritual. Hunting required intent. Intent required focus. Focus meant control. He followed, shadowing the man's movements, noting his gait, his posture, the subtle indications of awareness or lack thereof. Carter's pulse was steady, his movements silent. The man turned down a side street. Isolated. Unprotected. And then, Carter hesitated. Something cracked in his mind, a rupture in the perfect mechanism. The world wavered. He could hear his own heartbeat, the rush of blood in his veins, the whispering static at the edges of perception. It was Evelyn's voice he heard now, threading through the synaptic decay, grounding him where no one ever had. "You need help, Carter." A foreign sensation crawled into his chest, unwelcome and insidious. He stepped back, retreating into the shadows. The man walked on, never knowing how close he had come to the eternity. Back in his apartment, Carter stared at his own reflection. The hallucinations were growing stronger. His own face stared back at him, but there was something else beneath it, something waiting. Watching. His hunger had changed. Killing had always been a certainty, a necessity of his existence. But now, there was doubt. Doubt was a contagion, a weakness. He traced his fingers over his pulse, feeling it quicken, feeling himself slipping. He had sensed it earlier, in her office, in the way she dissected him with her gaze, refusing to see him as a monster. The moment she hesitated before admitting she cared, It had lodged itself in his mind like a parasite, altering the algorithm that governed him. He had felt the shift, the intrusion of something dangerously close to attachment. It was unacceptable. He knew what had to be done. Evelyn Mercer had become an anomaly in his system, a disruption to his perfect equation. He would kill her. But for the first time, he wasn't certain that he wanted to.